So recently, a lot of people have come to me with questions about the Mayan calendar 2012 and 11/11 and all of this. So I thought this was an important topic to bring up and to discuss. So from my perspective, the idea of 2012 and the Mayan calendar is all about evolution. And what it is that's evolving here is our consciousness. And I think this is a tagline people hear a lot in kind of spiritual circles, or evolving our consciousness. Well, what does that really mean? Consciousness is an awareness, and it's also a sense of self. But really, to understand what consciousness is, we have to understand how we relate to other people. So consciousness is how our minds impact the world at large around us. So consciousness is a personal concept, how our minds impact the world at large. So the Mayan calendar then has all of these steps, and I believe there are 9 steps of this evolving consciousness, where we start to understand more and more our own connection to the world at large through the power of our minds, our sense of self. And I also believe that it is our soul energy. So the level we're at now, which is actually almost over, it ends in a few days here, is about awakening. And having the perspective that I do, I work with people one-on-one. And it's been really interesting to see how many people are coming in with these experiences that are around awakening. And what awakening means is becoming aware of things, of levels of existence that were previously closed off to us through the power of our minds, our consciousness. So awakening is about this expanding of consciousness and what our minds are capable of experiencing. And it's really happening on a global level. There's an enormous shift happening. And people from all walks of life come in and tell me of experiences that they're having that really is interesting, how much they mirror each other and how parallel they are, regardless of their background or their belief system. So a lot of people talk about 11/11 in correlation with awakening. And coming up here in a few weeks, we have November 11th, 2011. So, a lot of people are, creating this hype around the 11/11 and, what's going to happen on this day. In relation to awakening, the number 11 has always been significant. And it's about increasing levels of psychic awareness. So I think the whole doom and gloom aspect that's been attached to this awakening, you see 11/11, a lot of people think something terrible is about to happen to them, or maybe the beginning of the end will happen on November 11th, 2011. And I think the point that I'd like to make is that anytime we change, anytime we're evolving, we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And so a lot of this 2012 hype and 11/11 hysteria has really been perpetuated by what seems to be happening in the world around us, where we're looking at institutions and cultures, companies, nations, religious organizations are starting to really crumble. The building blocks of what we thought were our stability and our reality are starting to fall away. And what ends up happening then is this uncertainty. There's so much uncertainty in the world right now with the economy, especially politically. And that uncertainty creates fear. And what we're afraid of is really not having anything concrete to cling to, where what we thought was holding us together is really not. And in my opinion, we're actually just being shown the truth that, we always thought that these things were concrete and that they were creating stability. We're actually being shown that they're not. So we're being forced out of our comfort zones here, where we're kind of looking around, and maybe life is not exactly, fitting in this box that we've built around it. And the phase that we're at in the Mayan calendar right now is all about that. They wrote about this awakening, this shift in awareness, that things are not necessarily what they seem. So what this awareness is leading to, according to the Mayan calendar, is a realization that we are conscious co-creators of our existence, and that our thoughts create reality. And this goes back to how I defined consciousness in the first place, that it is our relationship between our mind and the world around us. So we're closing in on our own consciousness through these steps of evolution. So, you know, I think the point here is to keep the focus on ourselves, on our own evolution. And one of the most powerful things about really being aware of your own past lives is being able to track your own soul's evolution, your personal evolution, because we have to keep the focus here on how we, on a personal level, are affecting the collective, and what kind of evolution energy we're adding on our own to the world at large, because we are all connected, and any shift that any individual makes also impacts all of us as well. And this is part of what we're learning. This is part of this awareness and this awakening. So I think that keeping that focus on our own evolution and ourselves, and learning as much about ourselves as we possibly can, and really stepping out of that place of fear and the hysteria into this ever-shifting perception of ourself and the world around us. That's the focus here. So on November 11th, 2011, you know, will there be a sudden awakening? I mean, no. You have to do your own work. You really have to put the effort into your own evolution. Now, is it an auspicious day? Absolutely. Just like any holiday, any time that we put that much emphasis on a date, and then also there is something to be said about the power of numerology, having power days. This is a real power day for, you know, this shift in awareness, and that it's encoded even in our DNA, that we will somehow through the number 11 have this trigger to step into the new phase of evolution. Will this happen? Absolutely. It's happening already. And so pushing past the fear here, because what we're afraid of is the unknown. We're afraid of change, and I think we as beings are naturally afraid of change. We are evolving, and it's all about choosing to consciously participate in this evolution. The whole doom and gloom aspect is there. Yes, there are things that are falling away, being stripped away. That's never pleasant. You know, we're beings that like organization. We like structure. And what this phase of evolution is about is taking that structure away from us. And as far as the world ending, you know, I think that we have to study cycles in nature. There's never an end. There's always, it's a circular pattern. And I have a Mayan calendar on my wall right now. It's shaped like a circle. So there's a continuation, I think, implied here. And it's an exciting time to be alive, but it's also a frightening time to be alive. It's an intense time. There's a lot that's happening and a lot that's shifting. And I think the point is to keep the focus on your own growth, on your own development, and maybe on 11/11, you know, do something that will help you take another step in your own evolution. Push past the fear and into higher levels of your own personal awareness, whether it's of your own past lives or of like discovering where you're going or what you're aware of and what you can experience. And I think that that's the most important thing to focus on as we step into this last level of the Mayan calendar.